Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Ask Jimmy Smith. Today, I'm going to be discussing a topic that every person and every entrepreneur and every Amazon seller, every e-commerce person, whoever you are, everybody deals with the issue of failure and struggling with different times in their lives or different particular moments that happen in their lives where they experience something that is viewed as a failure in their eyes. It doesn't mean other people actually always view that as a failure, but in their eyes, it is viewed as a failure. And so I wanted to come to you today and discuss a few different things. First and foremost, the biggest problem that I see with the way that people internalize these different experiences in their lives. Second, I'm going to discuss my experiences in all the different ways that I've failed over the years through different business opportunities and other things. And then last, I'm going to give you the activities or the exercises that I have recently been going through to take the piece of failure, to take that information and turn it into a positive action-oriented mindset. And hopefully this is something that helps you and isn't just fluff like you might see out there on different YouTube channels where you get ideas for how to handle failure or how you should internalize them. I want to give you some action steps towards the end of this video on what you should be doing to take those specific experiences and move them into positive mindsets. And so, as I mentioned earlier, the video is on how to handle failure with the right mindset. And so the first thing that I want to discuss is what is the biggest problem with how we handle these different experiences in our lives. And in my opinion, the biggest problem is how we internalize them. Most of us, and I know in my own life, I've experienced this, whenever something negative happens in my life that I deem as a failure. Again, this is my viewpoint, deeming it as a failure. Other people may not care or may not see it that way. But whenever I take it and I internalize it negatively, as this is something that says something about who I am as a person, then ultimately I notice that that shuts me down as a person who doesn't want to take activities or take steps moving forward anymore. I shut down, right? I start to look at it as because X happened, that speaks negatively about who I am. And because I am depressed about who I am as a person, then I'm no longer going to want to take the activities necessary to move forward in the right direction. And so this is something that I see all the time in different Facebook groups that I manage for the Amazon FBA opportunities, in different just e-commerce communities I'm in, business communities I'm in, just in talking to people out in the world. So many people have issues, including myself, of taking negative things that happen in their lives, internalizing them as it speaks about who they are as a person, and then it just runs the rest of their life down because they continue to focus on I am a failure, or I am no good at X, Y, or Z, or I'm just not smart enough, or I don't have enough money, or God doesn't love me, or this person doesn't care about me, or I am not lovable, I am not somebody that anybody can care about. All these things, you take specific things that happen to you and you internalize them as if they speak about you. And that, to me, is the biggest problem that I see in myself and in other people that are going through difficult times. And so I wanted to discuss this because if you can see the issue for what it truly is, then you can pinpoint it, you can grasp it, and you can move on from it in the right way. And so I hope that just this one point allows you to see what you're telling yourself about yourself so that you can move forward in the right way, in the right way moving forward, essentially. The next thing is feedback loops. And so I have mentioned this on other videos before in my Replens course that, I've gone through a few years ago that's led to the success stories that we've seen on the Amazon FBA businesses. But feedback loops ultimately are the things that you're telling yourself about a specific event that happens, right? You're successful, so you tell yourself, awesome, I'm a successful person, I'm good, I'm worthy, I've got money, etc. So you start to feed positive or sometimes prideful feedback loops. But what about the times when you have negative things happen? So you start to tell yourself these negative things. So what I'm going to tell you here soon is how I am currently using a 2 to 3 step process to take those negative things that happen in my life and turn them into positive action-oriented items. But ultimately, a feedback loop is what you're telling yourself about a specific activity that happens in your life. And ultimately, that becomes something that defines you because you're telling yourself more about who you are when it's not necessarily true, right? You're just taking it and you're twisting it into something that you're telling yourself about. And so my experiences in failure, I want you all to know this. I know that I come on and do these YouTube videos, and you guys see the successful Amazon side. You see the successful, best-selling Amazon FBA book, and you see the course that has led to success stories. But I've talked about some of the failures I've had, but specifically, there have been so many different things that have happened. I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on different courses. I've tried different methods of making money online and offline. I have done a ton of different activities that did not work out in my life or in my businesses. And ultimately, those things could have pushed me down to where I just gave up and said, you know what, entrepreneurship is not for me, or this specific thing is not for me. Maybe I'm not somebody that is worthy, that's deserving, that has been given the gift of doing X, Y, or Z. But ultimately, we need to remember that those things that we tell ourselves about those specific experiences are not true. They are just things we are telling ourselves. And I know this is easier said than done, but I wanted to make this to encourage you. And so these few steps that I have taken have helped me tremendously over the last couple of years as I've gone through difficult personal, spiritual, business circumstances. I've lost out on tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars on business opportunities I've passed up on. I've lost out on so many different things that I've tried that have failed. So many different opportunities. And so what I have been doing recently that has encouraged me so much that I wanted to make a specific video on it for you is asking this first question, which is, what does this allow me to do? What is the specific thing that I deem as a failure allow me to do? So let's say I spend $1,000 on a course and it does not work out. Okay. I spent this money, doesn't work out. So now I'm viewing myself typically, wow, I'm no good. I'm not able to be smart enough. Why is this working for other people, not for me? Why is it that I put in all this time and I should be smart enough, but I can't figure it out? But if you tell yourself that, then you're going to run yourself into the ground. However, if you say, okay, now that I don't have this, now that I've given up on this opportunity, what does this allow me to do? Well, it allows me to focus on other activities that can make me more money. It allows me to try new things that ultimately could be the business that works out for me. It allows me to focus on my family more because I was spending a bunch of time away trying to make this work. It allows me to focus on working on the things that in myself that ultimately maybe had that opportunity to fail or not work out, right? And so ultimately, if you take that and you turn this issue that did not work out into something that can be action steps, what are the things that I can focus on that it allows me to do, the things that you can take steps forward on each and every day, then that turns it into a much more positive thinking loop, right? You have a positive feedback loop instead of a negative feedback loop. And the next question that after you're done listing those things out, whether it's in your head or on a piece of paper, the next question after what does this allow me to do is how do those things or how does that make me feel? Right? So now let's say, well, now it allows me to spend more time with my family. Well, that makes me feel happy. I get time with my family. I get good time, quality time with my children or my spouse or whoever, right? Or maybe it allows me to focus on a different business opportunity that is exciting for me to move forward on. Well, that makes me feel excited. That makes me feel happy and joyful and motivated and confident, etc. Right? You can take those specific things, what does it allow you to do, and turn it into an emotion or something that it allows you to feel. As a guy, I know that can be difficult to go through, but it has been helpful in my life. But obviously, everybody's got different issues with different things. And so hopefully this is a question that also encourages you and motivates you. And then the third thing that I want you to focus on or try to do is to ask this question. If you're really down in the dumps, right? If you're really not feeling good, you've done these first two things, but it hasn't helped. I want you to think about this question, which is, or I guess two questions. One, who am I as a person, or who do I want to be? Okay. Now, the reason that these two questions are after those first two, because the first two might fix the whole problem for you. Honestly, the first question of what does this allow me to do might fix the whole thing, because now you're like, cool, I can take these action steps and I can move forward. And if that doesn't help, then the second one of how does that make me feel, focused on the emotions behind those things that you can do, ultimately may be the solution to help you move forward. So you could stop there. But the third one, if those two things don't help, who am I as a person? I want you to list out not necessarily how do I feel as a person currently in this failure, in the midst of this failure, but who am I, right? Who did God create me to be? Or if I'm really not feeling it, who do I want to be as a person? Okay. So for whatever reason, maybe you can't get to the place where you appreciate who God made you to be as a person. You should start to look at who do I want to be? And as a Christian, I recommend looking to the Bible for those things, right? Looking to the Bible for the fruits of the Holy Spirit of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, self-control, etc., right? But if for whatever reason, let's take a look at business specifically. I am a leader. I am confident. I am somebody that can make money. I can do X, Y, Z. I know this is kind of rah stuff, but ultimately it does help you get out of the negative feedback loop, as I mentioned earlier. At least it helps me. The other thing is, if you're listing off who do I want to be, then you can also, after you're done listing those things, go back to this next question of, well, if I was doing those things, if I was that type of a person, or if I am that type of a person, well, what do those character traits allow me to do? And how does that make me feel? Right. So it's a consistent loop to incorporate a positive feedback loop into who you are as a person, so that you can truly take a look at failure. You can separate it from who you are. You can take a look at it over here and say, okay, this didn't work out, but that doesn't mean all these 1,000 other things that I can do won't work out. This didn't work out, but that doesn't mean that I'm a failure, or that I'm not successful, or that God doesn't love me, or whatever it might be. Ultimately, this didn't work out. So now I have a greater purpose moving forward towards something that is actually more representative of who I am as a person. Now, I know for some of you, this may help tremendously. Hopefully, this just fixes the rest of your life. I have no idea. For some of you, this may not have helped at all. So I would ask that you place in the comments, what are the things that have helped you? What is it that you need help with in your business or life to move forward, to really take a look at the different difficult situations that come up through failure? And please like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if there's any way that I can help through your comments. And I hope that this helps you and blesses you. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.